Okay.
Okay.
I can speak without it. I just
Now you can?
would like not to. There's no escape now.
But you have such a beautiful brain that we want to know what's in it.
Okay. When I was driving on my way here, number 2 in particular, I was thinking about a lot. Because it's like a lot of people don't even wait. No, maybe I should stop talking until. Have you started or what?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, for example, just the word calories. Like, people don't know what that means.
I was just thinking about that, and it was with yesterday because we were looking up the menu.
Mhm.
Like, I don't really know what to get at Applebee's, and then she saw that a bunch of the salads were like had way
1,200
more
calories
than like this thing you think would be healthy.
Right.
And I was like, what the hell? How does this work?
Because they're so wet. No, because
All it was wet.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you add more oil to a dressing, like, it's gonna be more calories, because calories isn't just like number go up, number go down, like big number bad. Like, it's a scientific unit of measurement. Like,
What is it measuring?
energy.
So, like, a lot of people don't know that calories, when we say just calories and we think of them as food, it's actually kilocalories. It's a metric unit of measurement, and it's specifically 1 kilocalorie is the amount of energy needed to raise 1 kilogram of water by 1 Celsius degree. So
What? Say that again?
So the energy you put in, the amount of energy that it is your calorie count. You need 1 kilocalorie of energy put into 1 kilogram of water to raise it 1 degree Celsius.
Interesting.
So it makes sense when you think of it that way. Like, how are calories standardized everywhere? How do you have nutrition labels on everything in every country, and they all like make sense? It's because it's a standard unit of measure, but we're not taught that in schools. We don't like. We have maybe 1 semester of health class in middle school that no one's paying attention to. Everyone just thinks about sex ed in that health class, and that's
Look
it.
how much that's worked.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, welcome to the podcast. This is going to be we just decided this morning is going to be a different format change from what we've done before. And I like to go by the seasons at the beginning of the year. So you are our first one of the season 3 now.
Nice.
Or,
Thank you.
Yeah, 3, I think so.
Did you take the toilet paper off the table?
Why?
There are napkins for the snack I brought.
Decorative decor.
Decor.
For the shitty situations we might encounter. Just kidding.
Like spilling beer.
Anyways, before we used to talk about social issues, and I guess we could still talk about social issues, but I guess it's going to take a different turn as far as we're going to now talk more about things that we didn't learn in school. And maybe I blame school, I guess, and maybe it's not school's responsibility to teach us some of this stuff. I've heard it could be parents' responsibility to teach some of this stuff, but also if they're not doing it, and school's not doing it, then where the hell are you supposed to learn this stuff? And I think there's definitely a void there that needs to be filled.
I was laughing at
Gross.
the burp.
Yeah. So we have I'm going to call it the Omni-Versal, that hopefully we can relay messages or things that we didn't learn in school from whatever we've learned or whatever other people's experiences that they haven't learned or learned hard way, easy way, whatever it is. But I narrowed it down to about 10 colleges that I guess subsections of things we didn't learn, and maybe we can talk about whatever you think your top 3 are, like that you're most you feel like
Sure.
you wish you would have taught more. So I'll go down the list and then we can come back.
All right.
So number 1 is financial literacy. Number 2 is basic life skills. Number 3, social and interpersonal skills. Number 4 is health and wellness. 5, civic knowledge. 6, career preparation. 7, critical thinking and problem solving. 8, time management and organization. 9, technology skills. And 10, fine arts and self-expression, even though there's a typo there. And I know some of these are taught in schools, but I guess I think sometimes they just need to be taught differently. I don't feel like once we get out, we're actually like, and I always say that as an educator, just because I taught something doesn't mean they learned it. And also same things, just because they taught it in school doesn't mean people learned it. I think if people come out fluent in it, if people aren't coming out fluent in it, then kind of what's the point of it, teaching it if people aren't coming out fluent in it? All right, so from those, what would you say?
So the biggest one, like I mentioned, was number 2, I think. Because for me, nutrition is just like everyone's got to eat, and not many of us know how. If I were to go back to school now, I would probably want to be a nutritionist. Like, I just think it's very interesting. I just love learning about like the science of like the different chemicals and everything. Like, everything is a chemical, so I'm not saying it in the term, in the sense like, you know, they're putting chemicals in our food, but
Right.
more in the sense of like everything you eat has like different functions, like and yeah, we learn about the food pyramid, but we don't know why you should have so many servings of this and this. And even since the food pyramid's another thing, you shouldn't really have like 5 servings of grains every no.
It's backwards.
Yeah. So and going hand in hand with that, like a lot of, I guess maybe would be like, there should be basic nutrition that's taught in schools, and then there could be like specialized fields, or like going back in like the history of nutrition could be taught, because there are a lot of indigenous cultures that like live for decades longer than the Western world, and we know why, but no one, like, that's not catching on. That's not, you know. So
that, and like the way that different cultures and different regions will actually prepare the food, not heat it up in plastic bags and feed it to the kids, right? Or like they actually have the kids help with preparation of the food so they know what they're eating, and it becomes like a cultural life skill, right? So their life skills are definitely, I'm gonna say, this is my personal opinion, above and beyond ours as an American.
Oh yeah, like if you look at like East Asian schools where the kids, like, there are volunteers that pick up all the trash and separate out the juice boxes or milk boxes from the rest
waste,
of or mop up the floors afterwards, or even some schools where the kids themselves are like, they have a class or a set time where they are the ones serving the food.
They're the ones preparing it. They're the ones building the little stoves and stuff to prepare the food. Excuse me, but yeah, no, it's definitely different. Like over here, we need a class in nutrition because we don't have that skill set.
Yeah, it's not ingrained in our society.
Yeah, and I was just telling her about that in France, I think they do use lunchtime as a nutrition class, where somebody will sit at their table and kind of teach them about the different foods they have there on their plate and whatever. I was like, that's insane. Imagine that.
I mean, even like if we knew, like, beans are a great food, right? As bad as their like, they get a bad rap, I guess. The reputation of beans is just like, oh yeah, make you fart, like Mexicans eat just beans or whatever. But like, they are great in fiber.
That's the only thing keeping a Mexican alive.
They're cheap, they're easy to grow, they are very nutritious, they're very nutrient dense, and like very like full of fiber. They're like
Fiber
just
and
like
iron. Yeah, they're wonderful.
Yeah, but they're associated with like with like third world nations or poor people, or so like it just like keeps putting them down. So things like that, like we can learn that, like, no, like we shouldn't be discouraged from eating something so nutritious and so easy to produce, and like so widely available just because it's not popular or cool to, you know.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. We usually have some in our fridge.
Yeah. No,
Have you ever grown them?
No, not yet.
I haven't either, and I'm wanting to.
Yeah, you said that they were
I
pretty easy
keep
to
on.
grow.
Yeah, they're extremely easy, and they taste even better fresh. Like you go to the store and you always buy either the cooked canned ones or you buy the dried beans.
Yeah.
But they're very easy to grow. That's how come they give it to us as a science experiment when we're kids, right? You put
Right.
your bean in a paper towel and you spray water on it. Ta-da! Magic! It's growing.
By the end of the day. Just kidding.
Nah, like 2 days.
But I mean, like here in Mexico, here in El Paso, where most of the population is Mexican, like we grew up eating beans. We make beans because it's what we were taught from our parents, right? But we don't know like the benefits of it from school. And many of our parents don't know what the benefits
Right.
are either.
It's
They
not
they
good.
just it's cheap and easy to make.
So that one for sure falls under a category that how would your parents be able to teach you this if they don't know this
Yeah.
either?
Yeah, and so it's a tragedy that like a lot of people that don't know how to cook is because their parents never learned how to cook and just keeps going back. And like it's, if you don't know how to cook, you don't know how to eat either necessarily, because you don't know, like if you're used to eating TV dinners or whatever, you just grab whatever's available and it also helps, that perpetuates the system of like of people not being able to get themselves out of poverty for some peoples. Because if my only choices are starve or eat something that's already prepared, I'm gonna pay more to eat something that's already prepared and like never do the work to learn. And preparing food can be prohibitively expensive at first too. Like you have to have your knife set, you have to have your a working stove, you have to have pots and pans, all that. Which is why I guess like our cultures have prioritized that as like those are your wedding gift kind of items. Like every family has to have these things.
I
But
hadn't thought of it like that.
but yeah, if you're on your own, if you just and you never get married, like
Nobody's gonna buy that for you.
mhm.
Never thought
Interesting,
about
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on,
That's
mine
why-
has
that's-
just been fucked.
That's one of the things that
How selfish of us.
like I have
How selfish.
I have no there's no pressure, outside pressure or anything or that I feel that I need to get married with anyone, except for the fact that I'm like, it'd be real nice to have like that wedding registry.
Yes, but sometimes, like if you were just to save the weddings right now are ridiculously expensive. You can't have it for less than what, 15,000?
Yikes, gross.
It's gross. It is disgusting. So we were gonna just do an anniversary, and we ended up deciding against it because the most affordable thing that came like with the majority of stuff was 11,000. That was more than our wedding.
And yeah, so we opted to go on a cruise instead.
Nice.
Yeah, nice and gluttonous, but it was just for us.
And the three of us for a week was 7,000. So it was like this case still came out cheaper
than celebrating and giving the stuff to the people, because at this point, like what are you going to buy us? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But yes, like why can't we just put registries and be like, hey, if you want to buy me a Christmas gift, haha, here's my registry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because, or a just because gift.
I mean, I guess that's what the point of like Amazon wish lists are or whatever. But
I haven't seen anybody's.
yeah, it's I've only ever seen like influencers or whatever use wish lists because
They're smart and they put it out there.
Yeah, I mean, it feels so weird or awkward to be like, buy me stuff.
Yeah. Somewhat entitled. Like,
Yeah.
You're a stranger, but you like me, so buy me stuff.
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't know. I'm going to do it. There's this really cool keyboard that I'm not going to spend. It's $39, but I think that's expensive.
Like
'Cause-
computer keyboard?
Yes.
But it looks like all
But it looks so
old-fashioned,
cool.
like
Yes, it's like
a
the typewriter.
like with
Nice.
little.
I'll show you.
But yeah, if getting back to like the nutrition and everything, it's a lot of people don't. I think if we had more education about nutrition and like what the different nutrients or phytonutrients are in our food and their purpose they serve, and what to look for, what to avoid, you wouldn't see so many grifters in America trying to sell off like the Liver King or
Same.
that is cool.
Isn't it beautiful?
That is pretty. Very nice.
Mm-hmm. But it went up $10. Somebody buy
So
it
do you
for
think
me.
like, to sound like conspiratorial, do you think like it is like some sort of trying to not tell us stuff so that
Well, yeah, it's always like not to be conspiratorial or whatever,
Yeah.
but I think if you just follow the money, like you'll find like why. Like why do we drink milk in school classes? It's not the best for
Yeah.
us. It doesn't really do as much as like, but all these studies that have been done on it, paid for by the dairy farmers, by the dairy society, whatever corporations, they're the ones pushing this narrative that it is good for you. So like let's buy them up, and they get to pocket all the money from the sales of it and from the government subsidies. So it's like it all just goes back to like money and how capitalism is failing us, I think.
yeah, I'm like learning other stuff about business that I've been learning, and they always try to find some sort of recurring income stream. And so if like you're already like a dairy corporation and find that, oh well, if I tie it to schools, like schools are always going to have it's like that's an easy like consistent income stream. It's like, damn, that's freaking crazy.
But we could have just given our kids water.
Yeah,
Dogs will live longer than humans sometimes because that's all they drink.
Yeah, I've tried to get into just drinking a lot more water everywhere, and I felt like it's not an immediate change, but you will start to feel healthier.
Ooh,
Kaizen.
no.
Oh.
Tell them about your soda that you drank the other day.
Oh yeah, well, like yesterday, since we had because of the weather here, we had a delayed start, and so I went into work 2 hours late, or later than usual or whatever, and I had eaten at home before I left, and usually I have my lunch like around 10:30 or 11, and I had just had lunch here at about, what was it, 8:30?
9:30?
No, because we left
9.
at 9. Yeah, school started at 9:30, so I was like, it's like
8:30.
kind of like I'm not gonna eat again in 2 hours or whatever. So I opted to not take my lunch to school. Anyways, past that, at around noonish, I did start feeling kind of just like I wanted a snack. I wasn't really hungry, so I stopped for like bad stuff at Walgreens. I got a bag of chips, a soda, and some little Hostess cupcakes.
Golly.
Yeah, college diet. Anyways, I don't even think like it. Like, I was having the soda. I didn't even like. It wasn't like I chugged it or anything. I was just having sips here and there. And then later, I was telling Beto that like, she had picked up the child from school, and so when she's like, "Oh, he wants McDonald's. Like, do you want anything?" And typically, I would have said like, "Yeah, give me a few nuggets or whatever." And this time, I was like, "No." Only because I had already had that much bad stuff, but then also it made me feel jittery. I was like even usually with coffee, I don't feel anything. Even we have an espresso machine, and I don't feel anything. It's just kind of like I like the taste of coffee, and this time I felt like ooh, like what the hell, like what's going on? It's like, why do I feel like so jumpy and like something's gonna happen, or I don't know. It's like
That's what anxiety feels like.
But it wasn't like super high level, but it was still kind of like.
That's what.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, okay, I probably won't do this again. And yeah, so I don't know, like.
Sell 0.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I don't know.
It's just kind of crazy. Like, oh, so we usually don't buy McDonald's.
Uh-huh.
We're not. I try to feed him, like our kiddo, real food,
Sure.
right, from home. Like he loves bean burritos. Like
Nice.
we'll do food that is prepared at home, even if it's bad food like a quesadilla. I feel like it's still better than getting it somewhere else.
Sure.
Right?
Like Taco Bell.
Like, oh man, we're throwing out a bunch of like.
I mean, even if you think about it, like quesadilla, like it's not bad.
It's
If
not
you
that
start to think
terrible.
about the macros, like yes,
Yeah.
it's a fatty cheese or whatever, but yeah, you also get protein from the cheese. You get carbs are bad, but unless you're a kid and you need carbs because carbs are energy, and like kids are growing and they're always running, so not bad.
And he is. Anyway, so like we'll try to do that. But he's like, Mom, can I please? Because he wants the prize in the Happy Meal.
Mm-hmm.
So we go. And I open his apples. Like we're here and I was like, I had packed him some apples for a snack at school with peanut butter. Because he loves apples and peanut butter. Right? So his apples, he didn't finish all of them. I packed like a bunch, like a whole apple cut up. And he ate probably more than half of the apple. Excuse me. My gosh, that's what I'm getting for drinking this instead of my water. But I couldn't find my water bottle. I was downstairs somewhere or in the car. Anyway, excuse me. We get home and his apples that I made for him or cut up for him, and I washed them. Like I washed the apples so they wouldn't. After I cut it, I washed it in like very cold water so they don't brown. That's all that needs to happen, right? Well. No. So I open he opens the McDonald's apples. I look at the package and there are 3 ingredients for apple. Like, I don't understand why you need to put so many different things on the apples. And then I understand it's for preservatives, right? Like to preserve it. I'm like, why don't you just throw a damn apple in the box? It would be so much better. Like they already make throw an apple in the box.
Yes,
But
and
they make their own wax.
yeah,
You know, like
I understand that, but also I love the McDonald's apple slices. I don't think they're that bad. Like if you yes, there are preservatives in it, but like you think of like their scale that they have to
ship out and do all of that. Yeah.
How long they have to be like in the shelf. Like you couldn't do that with like actual just raw apples or whatever.
Jeez.
Like, so
But that's what I'm saying
why
is
not?
that it's such a thing.
because
to
there'd be
feed
just
your-
so much more food waste that way that they would go rotting on you. Like there's a reason why. Well, it's incorrectly used, especially when talking about like cops. But that bad apple, like it's just one bad apple or whatever. Like the whole line is one bad apple spoils a bunch. Because as it spoils, as it rots, it releases gases that trigger the other apples to start that decomposition process.
Yeah, I've seen the meme too. Is that the same concept with oranges too, when they start getting all like fuzzy and whatnot? Because I've had the meme where it shows the bunch of oranges and how one starts to spoil and it starts ruining the rest, but also
Because it has like little spores.
yeah, and pretty much and it has another one that's kind of a little bit further away, and it's kind of like keep your distance from like toxic people or something like that. I was like, okay, I get it. That's a good analogy. Enough. Like, so I don't know that, but I guess what I was comparing it to is kind of like at In-N-Out, they have like their whole thing of potatoes there, where they essentially make like the fries appear at least to be more fresh. They're not bringing them already pre-cut from somewhere else or whatnot. So why not? Why couldn't they take that approach where you have a bunch of raw apples and have the damn apple cutter?
Because they don't sell quick enough.
Maybe not,
They don't
but I
sell
mean,
quick
like,
enough, and they do decompose a little bit differently than. But this,
Right.
that's just what I'm saying is like. We're not taught the difference between an apple and a potato in school,
Right?
And how they behave, like in your pantry or your countertop or whatever, like how to store fruits and vegetables.
I wonder if people would actually pay attention to that in school.
I guess my more main argument is that like it's mostly the facade of trying to appear like a healthy alternative versus like you could have literally just bought the apple separate without all the preservatives or whatever else. If you're saying you like the taste, like are they adding something else for them to taste different and taste consistent from this McDonald's to another McDonald's to whatever? And so I don't know if that like plays a role into it also.
It could be like it's all like if you follow the money again, it's probably it has something to do with it. Like how they purchase from certain farmers versus others. And
Right. I do like the option, right? I like that the option is presented, even though it's not as good as an apple. Like just getting an apple, because now your apple has been treated, right? Like it's been chemically treated, which is what needs to happen for it to remain fresh. Even if the chemicals are a basic chemical like salt.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, it's the dose makes the poison. So like even if it's something that like you can't pronounce or whatever, like
It's ascorbic acid.
yeah,
Like,
Or-
but aside from that, like now you're packaging it in plastic also, and I'm like, God bless it.
yeah, that
Child,
part
why
I'm
don't you
not-
just want to?
I'm not terribly
An
keen
apple
on,
from home.
especially like when I think it was Whole Foods that was. But part of it is also you can't. So I did have a problem with like there was a grocery store that was peeling oranges and then wrapping them in plastic or something.
Oh, jeez.
But so yes, like for most people that seems ridiculous. That seems so dumb. But there are, like, if you take into account disabled people or people that can't maybe peel an orange by themselves or whatever, like there are some uses for that. And in this case, the use is that it keeps them fresh and it keeps them, able to sell them en masse.
It's convenient.
Interesting.
I like McDonald's only when during the summer in Denver, whenever the Rockies play, if they hit a double, you get a double cheeseburger for free with your purchase. Like you just have to spend $1. So what I'll do is I'll buy a $1 iced tea, which is 0 calories but plenty of caffeine. Like great, good for me, and very cheap for the size that you get. And then the cheapest other item on the menu is the apple slices, and I'm like, okay, that's fine with me. It's refreshing, it's fun, it's got a little fiber, got a little vitamin C, and then I get a free double cheeseburger. And it's
Right now
like,
they had free medium fries or something like that.
that's
did
the
they?
only time I can go to McDonald's, because otherwise, my receipt is like $2.50. Like
Dang.
otherwise, it's like $9-10 or whatever. Now
Yesterday, for a Happy Meal and one cheeseburger meal, so that comes with a drink and the French fries, was $17.
Yeah, no, I don't. I just don't go to
What?
McDonald's unless
My dad paid $17. 16 something, 16.70 something. I'm rounding up
Yeah.
to $17. $17. Or even if you round down, $16 for a Happy Meal and a cheeseburger meal.
If the Rockies aren't playing, I'm not buying at McDonald's.
Wow. The other thing I was saying earlier is I always thought the argument for the stuff you can't pronounce, I was like, this is a stupid argument. Like that's the criteria
What if
for
I'm
things we can
super smart?
ingest. Like, oh, I can pronounce this word, I can eat it. Like, no, like I'm sure there's some freaking more complicated word for the chemical whatever of like what an apple is, and like you're eating it, so like the fact that you're basing it off of stuff you can't pronounce is like, maybe school didn't teach us how to pronounce these words either. But I don't know, I always thought that was kind of a lame argument.
Yeah, I mean, I get, like, there are legitimate reasons to be afraid of certain ingredients in the foods you eat. You mentioned acids. I had I like this like Korean foot peel that I'll put on every once in a while, like because I'm barefoot all the time, so I develop lots of calluses. So when I get a little extreme, I'll put on this foot peel. And looking at the ingredients, there are like 3 or 4 different acids in the ingredients that are the same ingredients in this super sour jawbreaker thing that we sell.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but
So now
like
you
I
get the
s-
jawbreakers, soak them in some water.
But you would need thousands of jawbreakers because, like I said, it's the dosage makes the poison. Like they don't have the same function. Like
I'm
it's
sorry.
in much higher concentration in the foot peel than it is in the jawbreaker, for example. So there are reasons to be afraid, but it all matters what the concentration levels are, or what the density is of it. It's not necessarily like, ooh, this sounds scary, or I can't say it, so it's bad.
I don't know. So one time I went on a diet, and my diet was, if I can't read it, I won't eat it. And I did really good. Really good. Because there is so much different stuff, like in ice cream, right? So, like, why should you be eating that? Or, like, cookies. Like, there are so many additives that are emulsifiers, different things like that, when I could get whole flour, a pasture raised eggs, use apples instead of sugar. You know what I mean? Like, there are ways around it to make something completely more natural, for lack of a better.
But I wonder if, like, I've seen, not I don't know about how yours went, but I can understand if you cut out these things where you see those ingredients, then cookies, ice cream, whatever, donuts, like, are no longer a convenience factor, and you have to make them from scratch. Then are you just,
or don't eat it?
Are you cutting them out entirely, and is that a factor in why?
Absolutely.
So like,
that's my point.
Yeah. So that's why
it's like, why would you? Don't do it.
So is it the one or two ingredients that's bad, or is it as a whole cutting it out that helped?
Probably both, right? Because one led to the other. It's like, oh shit, I can't read this stuff. Or maybe even I could read it, and I was like, well, it's kind of not natural. Don't do it. And so I didn't do it, and it worked. But this was like 14 years ago, so I'm having trouble remembering exactly what it was. But it did work.
Nice.
For a little bit, until I thought, that cookie looks good. And then I ate the cookie.
I know diets have their place and everything. I think they serve function, especially if you need to get into a particular like fitness level or in shape for like a surgery or whatever. They have a great purpose in that, but apart from that, I think it's more of just like, if we were educated on like what nutrition does, and we followed more just day to day, not a diet, but not a like fad diet or like a
correct but like, following
like changing
actual
your
nutrition
dietary habits. Yes. Yeah. Then that is a more long lasting effect. And like, it's just so silly that for a while is like, fat is bad, fat is awful, and then so now, like, even still, you go to a Walgreens and you can pick up a pack of super sugary candy that says fat free, and you're like, oh, this is good for me. Like, no, it's not. But like the diet fads kind of just everything's always changing.
And we have a friend that was refused to believe that sugar was bad, that it was because of fat also, and it's like, I don't know if that's all just propaganda or whatnot, but it's like, now how do you unlearn this? How do you unconvince them that this was the thing or whatever it is? And it's like, what?
I didn't know that we had a friend that did that.
it's I mean, because there are some diets, and it's not even diets, it's more like cuisines that have persisted, that you know, through the decades. Like the Mediterranean diet is still probably the best diet that we know of, and it's not a diet because it's not necessarily that you're like restricting yourself to so few, but rather you're cutting out just a few items. Aside from that, like most of the other fads that come and go, it's just there's we were told in the 80s and 90s fat is the worst thing, and then now you have diets like keto, where it's like the only thing fat you eat is fats and proteins.
Let's have a stick of butter for breakfast.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like,
and then even in that, do you think?
But keto is not something you can live off of long term. Like you will clog your arteries with all that fat. Like,
well, what about like what's her? I don't know if you've heard of Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson's daughter. She's on the carnivore diet where she's only eating red meat and like maybe a few vegetables, but it's essentially purely meat, and she cured her cancer, some sort of cancer with just that. And she rabbit holed a little bit too, and like just found nuances in like the types of meat and the types, the way they were kind of not necessarily preparing the meat, but like the way they were harvesting, or I don't know, like the way it was aged or not aged, and certain cuts and certain things like that. But that's essentially her diet now too, and apparently she cured her cancer from that. I'm like, whoa.
I mean, it's not just calories in, calories out. It's also like how the different nutrients and chemicals that are in your foods affect your own body and how your body absorbs them. Some people's bodies will react differently than others. So it's hard for me to like take an example like that and like not just take it with a grain of salt, because it's not macro. It's not something that is explored upon in a whole society. It's like one instance.
So even, I guess, with that, now, would you think how much of a diet could be like a one-size-fits-all type deal?
I don't think there's probably any. I mean, like I said, the only one that's consistently doing well is the Mediterranean diet. But I don't know enough about that to like defend the Mediterranean diet against anything.
How un-American of you, Louis.
But I'm sure there are people that, I mean, in the Mediterranean diet, there are things like fish, and there are people who are, vegans or religious beliefs are held against it, or where they can't eat anything that swims or walks or whatever. So I don't think any one size fit all, unless we move to like nutrition pellets or something.
Why don't we? That would be so much easier. Let's just eat dog food.
Like if there was a
Nutrition.
like a human dog food.
There is a dog food now.
There is?
It's called
For people?
It's something chow.
No. Well, I guess, is it for people?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It comes as like kibble, and you can rehydrate it, and
What?
if you want it. Yeah.
The next
Can you
closest
find
thing
it?
she did was, and she found it kind of like this, that it was like supposed to be all nutritional, and it was like called a Buddha bowl, and it was actually pretty good. It just had like a bunch of stuff. It had like, it almost sounded like a chipotle bowl. Like it had rice and beans and a bunch of veggies and a protein and whatever, and it was actually pretty good. But I forgot what else was in it, and she even made the dressing for it. So
I'll need to find it. I know I did see it, and this guy was so stoked to eat it, like on a.
Did it taste good or no? Did he say?
He ate it and he seemed fine with it, but then I think that satisfies people who, there are people who live to eat, and there are people who eat to live, and I think he's in the latter category. If you just eat to live, eat because your body needs nutrition, then yeah, food pellets are fine.
I don't know how much other cultures. No, probably not as many, but I think it's.
I know one more other thing. Sorry to
go ahead.
This is anecdotal, of course, because it's just one instance. But there's this one woman that I saw. She shared like her nutrition journey or whatever, and she eats like nothing. Like there's like maybe 1 or 2 sticks of celery every day, and the rest of her nutrients she gets are from vitamins. So like she literally does not eat food.
Like a multivitamin thing, like a
like
pill type deal,
like,
or
no,
what?
like several, like a handful of vitamins, like for every different magnesium, for beta carotene, for vitamin C, D, whatever. So you can do that and
celery sticks
live.
for fun?
Yeah, you can subsist off of that, but it's like, do you really want to?
Did she give any of her other like numbers? Her like, how are her health numbers like?
She's very skinny. She looks like a white, skinny, cisgendered female influencer. Like, I would say, like very generic. I don't think there's anything that's like inherently wrong with her, or anything that's like sticks out as like great, but she's existing. But that's it. She's just not living. I don't think she's just existing at that point.
And that's the part that I feel like...
I just love food.
Yeah. But I wonder how much of that...
talking about all this stuff.
I wonder how much of this is indoctrinated in us, thinking that every meal has to be freaking amazing and like taste delicious and like be a whole experience, whether it's versus it just being keeping you alive from one day to the next kind of deal. And I can see indulging every once in a while and having the experience, but I do think some people think like, nah, if it's not like super delicious or amazing, then like I don't.
No, and the reason why I started getting into like following nutritionists in social media is because some of them do address things like that. Like, yeah, we've been raised to respect our food and like appreciate it, but there are some people that eating is a chore. Like their eating disorders are, you know, whether it's just because of self-image or whatever, or weight issues, or they just don't like to eat, just the act of eating. It is hard for them to do that, and you'll never get one of those kind of people to like produce something that needs to be processed and yeah. So in that case, you do what you can. Like if just chucking some rice into a rice cooker, or even if you buy some of those packs that all you have to do is microwave it comes already steamed. Like if that's what it takes to get you to eat, that's fine. I appreciate it in life. I love food because I like the cultural impact it has. I feel like processing food, speech, and tool usage are like the three biggest things, and not even as much the latter, because there are many animals that use tools, but definitely speech and processing our food are like the biggest things that separate us and are why we've advanced as societies. And
I've heard that before.
Did you see Fat, Salt, Acid, Heat on Netflix?
That sounds familiar.
It's this one.
That's totally what it reminded me of.
Yeah. And that is exactly what she says at the beginning, is that this is one of the biggest things that changed humanity.
Well, yeah, because like the more we learn about, and I don't mean like recently, because yeah, we're looking into like the micro stuff with like seed oils are bad or whatever. Like I don't believe seed oils are bad for the first part, for the most part, but like just knowing that eating meat cooked versus raw or whatever, or you know, the basic steps of processing our foods changed us from like an average lifespan of sub 30 years to now 80, 90, 100 years. So it is definitely like the biggest cultural impact for society.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I guess that's why I didn't know if it was, I didn't want to blame just the US and stuff, because I know like other cultures do take their food very seriously, but also I don't know if it's to that same extent that like every meal has to be amazing, but also like one of our friends just went to Italy and she said the food
Every
was freaking
meal was
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah, she said the food was amazing and everything was so fresh. Like they made the noodles there and like everything was prepared there and kind of made to order. And another thing I've heard from European cultures is that they usually only, at least for like produce, they only eat things that are in season. If it's not in season, then it's really hard to find or like really expensive. And I don't know how much of a different health impact that has, if it's like something biological or almost like I don't know what I don't want to say necessarily instinctual, but something more like animalistic in our biology, that we would benefit more from things that are in season versus not in season. Like,
I mean, I was watching I think it was Business Insider or something on YouTube that was going over like grapes. Just getting grapes in supermarkets is like a logistical nightmare. When I was at King Soopers, they had a sign up that said like, we've replaced our green grapes with red grapes, like sorry for the inconvenience, whatever. Oh wow. Because we just kind of expect them to always be in season in stores. And but if you look at I'd never thought about, I thought that okay, well they must be GMOs or whatever that like allow them to grow or the same produce year round or whatever. and for some maybe that is the case, but for like the case they used in particular for grapes was there's a harvest period of like 3 or 4 months in the US in like this one valley in California, and that's where most of the US gets their grapes for, you know, July through August or September.
Whatever,
Yeah, whatever it may be. And then once those are done growing out of season and those farms move on to a different crop or whatever, that's like that will actually survive past that, because the grape crops don't. We start sourcing them from
Somewhere
maybe
else.
like it's more Central America, and then sourcing them from like even South America, like further where it's now our winter, but it's their summer, so it's still they're still
Interesting.
in season, just not here. And so it's a whole thing of like global logistics versus oh well, they're not available here, so we'll stop selling them. So so
Same with avocados.
so it may seem and avocados are probably one of the I think fruit. I think they are fruit, right?
Does it have a seed inside?
Yeah, they're one of the produce that is consistently available because they grow in like our more tropical climates, and so you get those avocados from Mexico like all year round. But that's because they don't necessarily have as much of a growing season where they grow.
Right.
So then, like, are European countries just opting out of not getting them from anywhere else? Or
I think U.S. we were, since we were a colony of the Western world, like not just the British, but you know the Portuguese colonies, the Spanish and French colonies. Since we were already in trade, like that was the basis of how this country was made. So like global trade is just inherent in the US versus Europe. They were kind of more confined to their own space, so they're used to like using what's available at that time, and then that's how we've always done it. So
Very interesting. This is totally not what we were supposed to talk about,
That's
but
fine.
it's freaking awesome. I love it. I'm like, enlighten me. Keep talking. I'm going to keep on eating my GMO rancheritos.
yeah, those aren't the best,
But this is healthy.
but yeah. And that's another thing of like what I like about nutritionists is like every nutrition page or personality that I've followed, it's not about what to take away, it's what you can add. So like rancheritos by themselves, they're deep fried tortilla chips. They're carbs with oil and like
Chili
some
powder.
seasonings.
Chili.
Yeah, chili powder and salt. Well, I mean, salt you can argue is not great for you, but the chili powder is not by itself bad. Like, but altogether, the chip, if you were just sit down and eat the chips, that's empty calories or whatever. But add it with some nutrient dense vegetables, like, you know, you get tons of fiber and stuff from your cucumbers, from and all the flavor too, because like these chips are great by themselves, but better with something to dip them in. So it's what you can add to make the meal more complete, rather than what restricting anything.
Well, I'm glad you educated yourself on cooking and nutrition.
I mean, I've always
I'm trying to
loved.
convince you to come back.
I've always loved cooking, just because it's like it's as much an art form as it is a just a skill for survival.
I have considered it like
It
like all
is
the arts,
artistic.
like all the arts have like towards a certain sense, like music for the ears and like art, visual art, obviously for the eyes.
It's one of
but-
your senses.
Yeah, and like for sure, it's like, and one of my favorite scenes was the one from Ratatouille where he mixes the cheese and the strawberry, like have them separate. He's like, but then once you combine them, he's like, he's got all these like
I like
fireworks
the
going.
visualizations during that. Do you know what? Oh shoot! I've already forgotten what it's called. Shoot. Synesthesia.
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
So it's kind of that. Like, I really wish I was synesthetic.
I don't know what that is.
It's there are people who are born with one or two or more senses tied to each other. So like that scene in Ratatouille where he tastes things and like they give him like this
almost
you visualize what it tastes like.
Yeah, or you could see sound or something like that, like associated to a different color with a different
That's really
sounds
cool.
or something.
Yeah. That would have been
sad.
really helpful in there's some that have like perfect pitch because of that, because they can visualize like, oh, A440 looks like this, A441 looks like this same shape but with spikes on this left side or whatever, you know. Like
Holy
that
cow.
to that degree. Yeah.
Oh no, I don't want to. I don't. Damn it. I'm gonna rabbit hole.
It would be
I'm gonna write
a
this
blessing and a curse, I'm sure though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm writing this one down.
So, you want to stick to the same one or a different? Were there any other of these topics that were?
I don't know if it's necessarily health and wellness, but I was thinking about like
I wish that this would fall under health and.
the nutrition, like, and
I guess you're right.
people
I
who
did
are
have it under cooking and nutrition, but I guess it should have been more health, at least for that one.
well, no, the other thing I was thinking about was, so you have like these grifters who are like, buy my nutrition mix or whatever because these seed oils are bad for you, this sugar is bad for you, this whatever. There are also grifters or influencers in the beauty market. Like, I don't necessarily need to know how to do someone's makeup or whatever, but it would have been nice to know how to like take care of my skin better, like, or to like protect against skin cancer, or you know, or even that wearing sunblock all the time not only reduces your risk of skin cancer but cancer period, because it blocks the free radicals from entering your body in the first place.
What?
So you can get cancer like different kinds of cancers just from
That's
too much
it.
sun exposure.
I'm gonna take a bath in it.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
because it's the free radical particles or whatever entering your body, and to some degree
Like just
different
the way they
skin-
interact with
sunblocks can prevent that from
But you
entering
have
your
to
body.
get certain
But then
sunscreens.
and you
because
also
some
have
of
to be-
them can cause cancer.
Yeah, because then you have the reverse side where it's like there are
Dang.
ingredients in the sunblock that can be absorbed
Are
through your
actually
skin.
toxic, yeah.
See, and
Ooh, did you know
And
that?
yeah, I wish they had taught us what to look
25
for.
minutes, whatever thing that
Critical
you
thinking.
put that is topical sinks into your skin and enters your blood within 25 minutes of application. What the?
Or like 2 seconds if you watch. Do you guys watch? There's this Netflix movie that everyone hated, not hated, but there are a lot of plot holes in it. Carry On. Oh, I liked it, but it does have like you have to suspend your disbelief a lot.
what was that?
Oh dang! I don't know.
Taron Egerton. there.
Who else? Or what was the premise of it?
It's Christmas Eve, and he is like new to this kid wants to join. He wanted several times tried to join I think NYPD. Where's LaGuardia? Is that New York?
New York.
Yeah, I think it's set there. Wanted to join the police force, but got rejected many times or whatever. And so he's just a lowly TSA agent or whatever, but has his chance to finally man the inspection point, like where the
Oh, it's what we wanted to watch the other day, actually,
Was it? Dang it.
with Jason Bateman.
yes.
Oh,
Sorry.
interesting. Okay. Good to know.
But
Okay.
why did I bring that up? TSA. Oh, Jason Bateman's character has like a very volatile chemical that like all it needs is like skin contact to like give you a heart attack or something.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Interesting.
Of course,
Something
fiction. I
else-
hope nothing like that exists in the world, but you never know.
Yeah. How you were talking about grifters and stuff. That was. I feel like one thing now, nearing 42, is I think a lot of people want quick fixes to everything. And again, I don't know if this is just an American cultural thing or a human experience thing, but it's always like you want the quick solution or like the one-step solution. Like, oh, if I just get this product, this is going to solve all my problems. Versus like how you guys just talked about the sunscreen. Like some sunscreen is good, some sunscreen is not. You can't just go like take the advice like, oh, if you wear sunscreen all the time, it's going to prevent the free radicals. But like you still got to be careful on moderation, and like you said earlier with the poison, like the dosage of what you're doing. And maybe, I don't know, that's something school could.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like, I wish school taught me like one that can prevent free radicals from entering your body, but two, like what ingredients or what SPF. I mean, SPF, that's pretty simple, but like what to look out for, what the ingredients actually do or don't do.
But I guess even like SPF, like you said, it's pretty simple, but then why are there different numbers, and when are you supposed to use the higher ones versus the lower ones? Why even at this point it would seem logical to just use the highest number all the time, but then what are the pros and cons to all that?
But it's also difficult in that you're expecting because that would be like chemistry, right? You would think that would be presented to you in chemistry or in health science class, but then we get into another problem of our teachers. Like, our teachers are trying to teach to the test, so how do they have the opportunity to try to tell you, like, about free radicals in the air? What is a free radical? How do they enter into your skin? Why are they entering into your skin? Right now you're in like a different science class. You're in biology of how does your skin or your whatever, like how many layers to the dermis, right? Which layer is penetrated? Why are they penetrated? What penetrating?
Stop saying that.
Do you know what I mean? Penetrate.
Your epidermis is showing.
How dare you? You know what I mean? So how do we expect this also to be taught in schools?
That's kind of my thing, is that not necessarily. I do think it could be taught better. I obviously wouldn't say all of it, but maybe you mentioned like the test. Like, I want you to get rid of the test and figure out better ways to do this. Maybe do a full class or school-wide project, like based on like this year, this school is taking on this, and like you kind of start. To me, I think one of the reasons like sports and fine arts works so well is because it's very project based. Like in music groups, like band and orchestra, the process isn't much different in a professional setting. It's still pretty much practice your music, perform it, and then kind of evaluate you did good or bad. Same thing in sports. You practice, you play a game, analyze you did good or bad. And all these other ones, I guess with the test, it's kind of that same concept. You're kind of practicing, but you're learning the facts, but you're not actually putting into motion like the stuff that would actually like get the stuff to stick more. Like a student the other day forgot his instrument and he was allowed to work on other stuff, and he had a geology assignment, and then he's like, I know you're a band teacher, but any chance you know like what this means? And I hated geology.
But you
I didn't care.
absorbed a lot of it.
Yeah, and even then he showed me, and I didn't know. I was like, I have no idea what this is. And so I was like, and it just made it feel even more of a waste. Like, I took this class, I hated it, and he's learning this stuff, and now there's future him maybe possibly like this information was irrelevant. Now,
not only did you take that class, he's taking that in 8th grade, but you took it in college.
Right. And I don't know if I'm taking it for granted, but I'm curious as to go back in time, remove any of my geological information. What effect does it have on me now? What other things are tied to that geology information that would have disconnected or not made sense? And
I know one. We were on a road trip one time, and I was like, wow, look at the stacks on that look at that mountain. And you're like, yes, that's sedentary rock or whatever. And I was like, what? Geology? So you wouldn't have had sedimentary. You wouldn't have had igneous.
I was going to say, it would have been igneous because if there's a mountain.
So you got it wrong.
Sedentary are where like the sediments like settle.
The stridation or whatever you call it. I don't
Strata,
know.
yeah, that
Strata,
is.
I did remember that.
Layers.
You did, yeah. He said something, and I was like, oh, so that's one thing. You wouldn't have been able to have that conversation. You'd be like, I don't fucking know.
That was like, Some people would react to it and be like, "Oh, that's cool." A lot of people are like, "Okay, nerd." When I was working in our Vegas stores, we used to sell gelato at Lollipops, and gelato, like Italian gelato, there are some mainstay flavors like cappuccino or pistachio. One of them is stracciatella, and it's like people are like, "Well, I don't understand what is it." I'm like, it's just vanilla and chocolate, but it's like layers, like strata, like a. and you're like, "Oh, that's cool. I didn't think about it." Or they're like, "Okay,
They didn't know what
I'll
strata
take the
was.
birthday cake one."
You unconvinced me.
Yeah.
I eat rock ice cream. Just kidding.
They didn't understand what strata was. They were like, hey, strata.
Yeah.
Oh,
That and like just weather patterns, I guess, are the only things that I took back from geology.
Did you
weather
talk about
patterns.
weather? I don't remember about weather. I have to like weather.
Yeah, a lot of it was about weather.
But I mean, not like it wasn't like meteorology, right?
Yeah,
I don't remember that at all.
Of course, yeah.
And I passed this class, guys. You just remember how valuable these classes are, how much you'll remember from them.
Dang.
I don't know. I don't know what I want, I guess, but
It's tough because I mean, not to like age us or anything, but like, yeah, like a lot of things that, like, for number 6, career preparation, there are tools that I'm teaching myself to learn. Like you said, like they weren't available when I was younger to like Google how to do these formula and make this happen in a spreadsheet or whatever.
Right.
There are plenty of tools now. But I would have had to have taken a special class on Excel documents or whatever back then. And I think that's kind of like baseline knowledge now for kids growing up now. Like, I don't.
Which is good. I like that they do that. I took computers, and that's where I learned, right, like how to do Excel spreadsheets and Microsoft Word and how to do the programming and get like pie charts and bar graphs and.
But it's crazy too how, like, career prep, I always wonder with teachers that leave the field, like, one of our friends tried to get a different job, and he was having a hard time, like, essentially marketing himself as to, he's like, I don't know what to put on the resume because it's all, like, school related, and I guess you have to be more vague about it, more like
These are my skills.
Yeah,
Because if you
versus more specific thing which would work in another school to school setting, but now to pull it out and well, yeah, he ended up not getting the job. He didn't even get an interview, and he felt like it was because, like, I don't know how to. And so now, yeah, essentially market your skills in a different way to apply it, even though the skills might be the same, just a different setting and a different career path. And I was like, yeah, that does kind of suck. Like, I'm always very curious with teachers that leave. Like, how did you, and get a different job? Like, how did you market yourself? What did you do or say? And I'm like, okay,
It's interesting
know.
too, because I do some of the hiring for my job, and I got this one lady whose resume was a single page and had very, very little information. It's like, this is my name, this is my whatever, and I was like, what? I'm used to reading sort of a history. Where have you been? What classes did you excel in? What are your skills? What do you like to do, right? And she said that in her college course that they told her to be very short and sweet, and that if the interviewer had any questions that they should ask that.
I've heard the same.
I hated her resume. She didn't get the job because of number one, you didn't market yourself at all. Like, I didn't know anything about you. I don't know where your strong suit is. I don't know where your GPA is, like anything about this person. And then to be told, oh, well, it's because they told me in the class that they should just, that you should ask me the questions. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. If you're going to put it on me to ask you these questions, you better have damn good answers for all of these questions that I'm asking you. And she didn't. And I was like, no, so this is a really accurate representation of who you are. It's nothing. Like, come on, do better. And then I was like, hey, well, I have a tip for you. Like, maybe next time, even if you put your college down, put the year that you began, I need to at least know, or to current, you know? But if you graduated, I need to know that you graduated and that you actually have this degree. What credentials do you have?
So what did it have?
Her name, her address, a phone number.
A business card?
Essentially, it was real pretty with a little flower, and I was like, what the hell is this? No. You know? So I'm like, did you miss the rest of that? Like, what to put on your resume? So I don't know. I think that now they have, like, in college, they'll have at the career center, you can ask for help with your resume, right? And they'll help you put it together. But at the same time, like, why aren't we learning this in English? Basic writing skills. You know, it's kind of gross what's happening with some of the education.
Well, yeah. Like, I mean, kids now, they're asked to write an essay. They just go to Chat GPT or whatever. So.
And I told Sal about that too. I was like, you know, I like Chat GPT a lot. Sometimes it's used a little bit backwards, right? But at that same time, like, we already know that the kid is going to do that. We know that they have the skill level to go and type something in and say, hey, ChatGPT, write this for me. I want you to tell me about it. And I'm like, cool. That's the way that you get rid of the AI stuff, is talking, basic communication skills. And that's like what I'm all about, right? And so I'm like, the hell with the essays. Like, if you're gonna have to write some stuff. Like, if you're gonna go into higher education, you're gonna need to write, and your professors are gonna put it into ChatGPT anyway. We're gonna know if you did it or not, and if you did do that, that's the same as, like, plagiarism. Get out of here. If you can't write a basic essay or a basic paragraph describing what you're seeing in front of you, go do something else, and that's okay. We need positions for everybody. Not everybody has to go into higher education. But
yeah, there was once a student too that I assigned him. It was kind of just a makeup assignment for whatever, and he ended up using ChatGPT. And I was kind of like, okay, first of all, like, you could tell it was like way beyond the level of that grade level. And so it's like,
you could just be like, read it to me.
Right. And not even that. Like, I asked him, like, so could you summarize what you wrote? Like, just, and like, he didn't even read through it, like, as to what did ChatGPT write back to me. So I kind of have an idea, and I was like, okay, strike two here. And then I went to ask the teacher, is this writing style typical of this level? And she was like, no. And then asked who the student was. It's like, definitely not. So it's like, come on, man, at least, like, throw in some grammar mistakes, make it 2 grade levels lower than yours, just to kind of, like,
sometimes it's used wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a parent the other day, so their child is in kindergarten, 1st grade, something like that. And the mom was like, I typed this stuff into ChatGPT, and it told me that this is supposed to be, like, 2nd grade level. That's their expectation for the child, is to write something that's 2nd grade level. And I was like, okay, so do it. Like, go work on it. If your kid is in 1st grade and they're asking for a 2nd grade assignment, maybe because they feel like they need to push them. And, like, what's wrong with that? What is wrong with, I don't know. They obviously thought that that it was in their zone of proximal development. So, like, why wouldn't they do it? But, they were not happy that it was a 2nd grade level. And I was like, okay. I'm pretty sure that Like, the stuff that comes home for us to do homework is not kindergarten level either. Less than and greater than. But hey, if they think that the kid can do it, then let's go.
The other thing you had mentioned earlier, like with all the spreadsheets and like typing stuff out and for your resumes and whatnot, we kind of realized that like our parents, how much technology sprung up on them and how unfluent they are, but it was like they really had no, even we still get like technology education, got some sort of something technology education, like they literally got nothing, and now all of a sudden technology's taking over the world and are expected to kind of sink or swim kind of deal with no essential prior knowledge, like even the most basic terms to us. It's like I have like you're speaking a totally different language to me.
Gigabyte.
Well, yeah, like even Apple got really popular because at the baseline there was customization you can do if you were like technology literate, but then more and more they simplified stuff, like more features, but user
Friendly.
Interface was a lot.
It was very simple.
Yes.
Very clear. Look, here's
Even
a
yet,
calendar.
with how simple it is, my dad deleted all his contacts from his phone after they transferred the phone plan to him. Like,
No.
so, and he's still working out how to like get them back or whatever. Like, yeah. So,
and it's crazy to me because I'm sure there was like a pretty clear like, are you sure you want to delete?
You can't
all?
do that on
Delete all
accident.
your contacts.
Yeah.
Delete or close.
Yeah, so sometimes like our parents call with like random stuff. It's like, dude, this thing gives you a bunch of warnings before your kids. Like,
I had a coworker. I was on video chat with her, and so I was walking her through. She was gonna pay something with my company credit card, and I was like reading out the numbers to her off the screen, and then so she puts all the card information. She goes to pay, and then a pop-up comes in. She doesn't like even read what the pop-up says. She's just like, okay. And then so for some reason the payment didn't go through, and then so she goes to put it in again, and she's like, okay, what's the number? And I'm like, you don't need me to tell you the number because you weren't reading it, but I saw that you agreed to save the credit card information on your browser. So like, if someone, and she's only like 2 years younger than me, if someone from her age isn't like technologically literate, then how do we expect?
That's not even technologically literate. That's just literate.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was like,
That means she failed to read it.
Yeah,
because she knows how to use the computer.
but it's the same thing though. I mean, like that pop-up and just ignoring it. Oh, like oh, it's whatever.
It's
the same
ignoring.
thing
It's fast. It's like
as like delete all my contacts, sure, whatever.
Yeah, you're probably right. Okay, I see what you mean.
I didn't have a beer earlier, but I think I need one. People stress me out. No, not stress me out. Disappoint me. Ah, dang, all of those need to be taught. Well,
I don't think you.
there are some things that parents can't teach. You know, in
Did
it.
you have on here that it's probably something that parents should teach, but I mean, you guys probably see it more as an educator anyway, but and I don't mean like knowing what your salad fork is and versus knowing what, but like basic etiquette, yeah, just isn't taught. I don't think.
You know, I have issues with etiquette to a certain degree. Mostly because, like, I don't know, certain
this.
things like that.
You're getting vicious.
Certain things like which salad fork to use, like.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, I've learned to test my limits, like oppositions. So if I'm.
You're wafting the mic. It's gonna be.
So if what does it look like when we have too much etiquette, and then what does it look like when we have like no etiquette? And I have seen some situations where I'm like, there's like etiquette is like completely out the door. I was like, okay, I can see where we need a little bit of etiquette, but also to the other extreme, it's like we don't. And so, yeah, I can see I guess I can see now where it can be important, but I guess I didn't like the emphasis sometimes it was placed on us growing up, where it's like the salad fork thing. Like, who cares, man? Like,
Yeah.
I think that you're on, like, absolutely. I agree. I think with new technology, we have lost so much etiquette and interpersonal communication skills. I really loathe it. Because if I greet you, I should greet you. Hey, how are you? Or hi. That's it. Not looking onto my phone. Hey. And then go somewhere else when I just invited you into my home. No.
I don't even mean just like children or like single settings, but like in public too. Yeah, like people just let their kids do whatever now in restaurants and theaters, which I'm glad like there are places like Alamo that have those rules or whatever, and kick people out and enforce them. But that shouldn't have to be a rule.
Right.
But still, there are like even at Alamo, you have the opportunity to go to a kids show, right? So I took the kiddo to go and see Moana, and no, I had to go with my aunt to go and see. I was gonna go watch Wicked, but we went to a kid screening because it was early, and I needed to get out early enough to go and pick him up. So we go to the screening, and that's fine because I know it is kid friendly.
Yeah.
However, your kid shouldn't be freaking jumping on the seats, right? Like, you're not at home. You're still not at home. Like, somebody else is going to go and sit there. Your kid shouldn't get the popcorn bucket and be shaking it and throwing popcorn all over the floor.
Yeah.
Because just because you're in a public space does not mean that you're at a kid-friendly show does not mean that your child should be destructive and ruining other people's experiences or property.
Yeah. And I don't have a problem with like soft parenting or whatever necessarily. But if it doesn't work, or if you know that your child's going to behave that way and you have no control or no way to stop it in a public setting and where it's disrupting other people's like
And wait for it
viewing
to come
experience, yeah, don't go, don't take her out like that. And that's part of like soft parenting too. Is if they can't behave, like you just don't give them the reward. Like you don't give them reward regardless of how their behavior is. So why are you going to take them out?
Yeah. Not even a parent, Luis.
Yeah. And so it's always on. I think it's always on the parents. And you said something. Oh, Wicked. Parents and just adults in general also still like it's not just kids. It's adults don't know how to behave in public. Because I saw a video of someone being like, if you don't want to hear other people singing during Wicked, don't go. Wait for it to come out in on video or whatever. I was like, no, it should, sing in private. Like, well, I came here to hear Cynthia Erivo and like not you. So.
And to me, that's a whole other societal thing that where the instant gratification is that like now it's you feel like you need to be gratified, I guess, all the time since I want to sing in the theater, I should get to go and sing, and you all change your behaviors instead of me changing my own behaviors. Right. And same thing with the parent thing you said.
If you want to do that in theater, then rent the whole theater or something.
And also with the kid, like if your kid can't behave, then don't go to the theater. But it's like, but I should be allowed to go watch a movie. It's like, yeah, you can once you get your damn kid in control.
Yeah.
But and like nobody's telling you not to, but
it's like that. Like your rights stop like where they infringe upon mine.
Right.
So like you're free to come watch the movie theater, but if you're like making it a worse experience for me, then maybe don't come. It's like you can swing your arms around in public and whatever and not care, but the moment that your right stops and you can get arrested for it is when swinging that arm hits someone else. Like.
And I wonder, like, it seems that those social skills don't need to be taught, right? Like, why would you need to have a class on social skills in high school? But they need to be modeled, right? So it's not just the things that are taught, but it's the modeling of it, right? It's the little, like, correction. So if you're swinging your arms in the classroom, that teacher is going to be like, hey, keep your hands to yourself. Right? those are the things that are missed, I think, when a person doesn't get to go to school.
Oh, you could do a whole nother podcast about homeschooling.
Oh yeah.
The people that often send their kids to home or do homeschooling are the least, are the ones that need public education the most, I think.
Yeah, even whatever beef we may have with public education, like even this, you still need at least the base, this.
It's hard because, and it makes sense. They're not acquiring the same social skills.
And I would say largely that's probably the bigger, like you could teach all the facts and stuff. You can teach all the facts and science and history on your own and it's verifiable and stuff, but some of the social stuff, like how are you going to teach it outside of your, like, it's easy in your bubble, but that's not how the world works either. It's like you got to go interact with other people and know how to interact with other people and know that you're not always going to get your way, or like that even like, I don't know how lunch and food situations are in homeschool. Are you always getting what you want kind of deal? It's like sometimes you're not going to get the grilled cheese with the crust cut off. It's like you cut them off yourself if you don't like crust or whatever it is. I don't know.
That's actually become a thing with several of my patients. I'm having to tell the parent, like, you do maybe need to send these kiddos to school. And they're like, no, because I'm scared of school shootings. I understand. I am too. My husband and my baby go to school. I am scared too. However, your children need a model for socialization because they're not receiving it at home. And boy, they are never happy about that. And it's okay. I'm not there to be their friend. I'm there to be a person who helps them along the way, right? And if I see that the kid needs that, that's when I'm telling them, like, hey, maybe you need to enroll in daycare. Hey, maybe you need to enroll in a pre-K 3, or and actually insurance is starting to say the same. Oh. Which is fascinating because it's a person that is paying for these services now. Yeah. Right? So if they're seeing, hey, and they see it on my evaluation and I'm like, these people need this. And then they come back with it too. They're like, we're not going to give you these services unless your child is in some kind of class. Because I think they're onto it too.
Because you can be... like whatever progress you're having during your sessions or whatever is completely undone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that we learn a lot from not just the class, but the social interaction, right? Like in college, when we went to school, it's not necessarily like, what class did you learn the most from that you didn't take for your degree, right? Like a musical theater degree. And then I took like statistical analysis, or I took political science, and I took sociology or psychology. Like those are the ones that were super impactful to me. And I'm just like, wow. But it's also the socialization, right? It's speaking to somebody without your parent being there anymore. Because my parents were extremely involved even throughout high school. And finally in college, I had to fight my own battles. I had to discuss things with my teacher that were going to affect my grade. Your parent isn't going to go in there. What is that professor going to think? Like, oh, this is why you're doing it like this. Because you've been coddled your entire life, right? It's time to put on your big boy panties and your big girl panties and like get out there, and you have to communicate for yourself. And so it's being able to fight those battles. And it has nothing to do with what kind of class you took, right? It's your social interaction. And I think those are some of the things that I learned in college that weren't necessarily a class, but how to communicate with others without, I don't know, you being by yourself, you being on your own, not mom, not dad, not brother, not sister, helping out, speaking for you, you having to speak independently. I'm done. You can talk. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I don't have much else to add. Do you guys have anything else? We'll probably start wrapping it up.
You guys edit out like all the quiet parts, right? Or what?
No, not really.
Awkward silences? No.
No, not as much, just because it. I'll try to go a little briefly because it shows the waves or whatever.
Oh,
And
okay.
then once I like normalize it, they're a little more visible, but that'll probably be the extent of it. But it takes too long to go in and like. I tried it like early when in the process, and I was like, nope, this is gonna take way too damn long. So I was like,
stayed in here
it's
for
just
like 3 hours one time.
So
working on it.
No, I feel like,
Oops.
and not just because I'm no longer drinking a beer, but also like my social battery is like, oh,
yeah.
okay, I'm done.
Yeah. That's okay. That's fair. We'll pretty much wrap it up. I wanted to leave on a Kaizen tip type deal. So Kaizen, for those of you unfamiliar, is improvement in small increments. So rather than like the diet thing where like, I'm just gonna start the new year on this whole new diet thing, instead start small. It's like, all right, I'm gonna start cutting out sodas or something.
I'm gonna start adding in vegetables.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna start adding in vegetables and start small that way, and it's supposed to have better longer term results. So if you could offer anything based on all the stuff we talked about, like, what do you think? Even if it was something you did that you felt like was kind of a small start that kind of maybe built into something.
I have
bigger.
a rule that I follow, and it doesn't exclude food types or like any particular ingredient. More so, it's just like it's simple and keeps me in shape physically and financially. So like it can be cheap and bad for me, or it can be like expensive but has to be good for me. So something like McDonald's used to be cheap and bad for me. It's fine. Like I can go and get
Now it's expensive
breakfast
and
for
bad
like
for you.
yeah, like 2 burritos used to be like the 2 burrito meal used to be like $5. Like you get 2 burritos, the hash browns and coffee or whatever. Now to get that it's like $9 or whatever.
Jeez.
Yeah, and they're not filling foods. It's not worth that. Versus, or like Chipotle used to be not super expensive, but it also used to be like really high quality food. And it probably still is pretty high quality food, but I stopped going with all the E. coli outbreaks and everything like just before COVID. And now, since COVID, they've raised the prices. So it's neither necessarily good for me or inexpensive. So like, whereas before I might have been like, I'm feeling like Chipotle, I'll go to Chipotle and just chow down on it. It's not bad food, I don't think. I think they prepare for pretty good quality, but anything that's really a chain is not going to be the most nutritionally dense product that you can get for that price. So what I've been doing is like, okay, I'll just create my own burrito bowl or whatever at home, and that has satisfied me a lot more. Kind of like how you did your
The Buddha bowls?
yeah, no, like if I can't pronounce this,
Oh, yeah.
then I'll just buy the flour or whatever and make
And
it
do that.
myself. That's how I've kind of approached this. Is if Chipotle is too expensive or is just not of the same quality anymore, then it's better for me to just make it myself. So I'm not taking out anything, but I'm preparing a lot more fresh foods because cost of everything else, cost of just going out to eat, except in fast casual places like Chili's and Applebee's, which are doing really well, is just prohibitively expensive now. It's no reason to go out there. Unless you have a kid that begs for a Happy Meal.
You? Anything?
The Kaizen with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I want to say something to the point of learning from what is not taught. Right? So, we've learned that we don't have the appropriate education with nutrients and stuff like that, right? Like we don't know all of that. We don't know proper etiquette. Well, somebody does. And now that we have the internet at the tips of our fingers, educate yourself, right? So that is how to make those improvements, is by self-educating. If you know that you're having a difficult time with something, educate yourself on it. Type it in. Like, these algorithms figure it out for you, and they're going to feed it all to you. So you're going to be able to learn from that. So if you ever feel that you're lacking in something, educate yourself. We have the opportunity now.
I didn't tie it back into it, but I guess I should have mentioned that, like, with cooking for yourself, you do kind of have to educate yourself on things. Like, if I would just get a chicken burrito bowl at Chipotle, it's just chicken to me, right? But if I have to go and recreate that at home, okay, is it chicken thighs or chicken breast? What do I should I just buy a whole chicken? Like, just use all of it? Like, so educating yourself on, like, what dark meat is versus white meat.
Yeah. And then it's to your personal liking. It's to your own health. And not only that, but you're going to spend $10 on all this stuff. You're going to spend it on rice and beans and chicken. Yeah. So you're already spending $10 on one bowl. So now if you make that, you can feed yourself through the rest of the week. So it's learning from what you're not taught is my whole point, is try to figure it out, educate yourself on it. It's not just like, oh, poor me, I didn't learn this. Oh yeah, poor you didn't learn it.
Yeah.
But figure it out. And you.
I would say kind of like what Luis was saying, is that go make it yourself kind of deal. But I think we want that instant gratification. I would say is just learn to inconvenience yourself. I think we've gotten very used to the convenience of everything, and whenever anything is an inconvenience, we assume it's a bad thing. And I don't think that this is I think a situation where the inconvenience is not a bad thing. It's probably way better for you than to go for the convenience. All right, well, thank you. And I realized about halfway through that we didn't even introduce you. So this is a whole new format for us, but
just some guy you saw on the street.
Yeah. Hey, get over here.
Record a podcast.
Okay. So thank you, kind stranger.
Thanks.